Our focus for this recording addresses the properties, metabolism, the benefits, the applications, and the absolute need for supplementing with plant sterols in the North American diet. We will look at the use and benefits of incorporating the formula Sterol 117 in an optimal health program that includes the therapeutic benefits of a diet and supplement plan rich with plant sterols. Celt Naturals has been focused on the research and study of plant sterols for nearly 20 years. As a result, Sterol 117 remains the highest source of plant sterol compounds in North America, with the correct proportion of adjunct ingredients that assist in the delivery and absorption of the 300 milligrams of plant sterols that are present. Sterol 117 is formulated by the owners of Celt Naturals, Jack Davidson and Alan Ferguson, both of whom are experts in the science of sterile compounds. Jack and Alan have been providing training to naturopaths, pharmacists, medical doctors, and health practitioners for over 20 years. With their expertise in the science of sterile compounds, they not only clarify the application and potential of this formula, but the differences between the various plant sterile compounds as well. I invite you to request their latest book by calling or emailing the contacts provided on the CD cover. In their book, Immunity Unlocked, Releasing the Healing Power of Sterol 117, you will learn about the effects of an immune system response that spins out of control and the relationship of chronic illness to the constant exposure to toxins in the environment. You'll read about the research that shows how the daily intake of plant sterols can help reduce excessive inflammation and how to reduce the risk of future health issues and diseases. Learn about the mind-body connection to immune system health, how Sterol 117 benefits allergies, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, blood sugar regulation, skin issues like eczema and psoriasis, heart health, and arthritis. As a standalone product, Sterol 117 has proven itself to be the most versatile formula a patient can use, primarily addressing the inflammatory pathways, and as a result, benefiting everything from allergies to arthritis to prostatitis to fibromyalgia. This formula is specifically designed for the regulation of the immune system and can be used by those with autoimmune disorders. Hormone balance is also a direct benefit of use with only 2 capsules daily. The broad benefit of incorporating this formula has been experienced by many practitioners and patients, particularly in the winter months when colds and influenza are rampant. It is a unique formula comprised of a total of 300 milligrams of plant sterols, a blend of 183 milligrams of phytosterols, and 117 milligrams of beta-cytosterol. Sterol 117 does not contain magnesium stearate, binders, fillers, or coloring agents. The plant sterol is derived from non-GMO soy, but even after extraction and processing, no soy is present, so individuals with known soy allergies can comfortably benefit from this formula. Included in this formulation are 2 proprietary blends, essential for the increased absorption and efficacy of a plant sterol product. Solas, a blend of fruit and seed extractions, and EFAs extracted from flaxseed. And enzogenol, an aqueous pine bark rich in antioxidants. No chemical solvents are used to extract these proprietary adjuncts to the formula, and only rice flour is used to lessen the natural characteristic stickiness of the plant sterol. The capsule is also enteric coated to prevent destruction from stomach acids. For maximum efficacy, it is best to consume the capsules 1/2 hour before a meal and away from dairy products, which compete with sterile fat absorption. The only known contraindication is organ anti-rejection medication. Health Canada has allowed the following statements as a general claim for any manufacturer of a plant sterol product. Plant sterols help reduce or help lower cholesterol, and high cholesterol is a risk factor for heart disease. Due to the quality of their product, Celt Naturals, as formulators of Sterol 117, have specifically been allowed by Health Canada to make the following claims. Sterol 117 helps lower total blood and LDL cholesterol. It helps maintain healthy cholesterol levels. It is an antioxidant for the maintenance of good health. It helps in connective tissue formation. It helps the body metabolize carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. It helps maintain healthy skin. And best of all, helps to maintain a healthy immune system. This description exceeds all other allowed descriptions. Health Canada also acknowledges that an 8.8% reduction of cholesterol has been observed with an average intake of 2 grams daily of plant sterols. With 300 milligrams of total plant sterol in each capsule of Sterol 117, it becomes reasonable to create a cholesterol-lowering protocol for a patient with a loading dose of 6 capsules or 1,800 milligrams of Sterol 117 daily for 5 days, and then reducing the dosage to 2 capsules daily as a maintenance dose. A manageable protocol always increases compliance, so since the total sterol content of one capsule is 300 milligrams compared to other brands, it is possible to consume at least close to Health Canada's recommendations of 2,000 milligrams daily. Of course, an increased consumption of vegetables and fruits high in plant sterols will certainly contribute and complement this therapeutic dose. The South African Journal of Science indicates that a good diet will supply 200 to 300 milligrams of plant sterols daily. The typical Canadian diet contains 150 to 400 milligrams of plant sterols, and vegetarians consume roughly 700 milligrams daily. All are far less than what is needed to effectively impact a condition of hypercholesteremia, for example. The total sterol content of 100 grams of some foods provides an example of the limitations of a strictly dietary source of plant sterols. Just as an example, almonds contain 122 milligrams per 100 grams, asparagus 14 milligrams, strawberries 10 milligrams, bananas 11 milligrams per 100 grams, peanuts 142 milligrams, kidney beans 91 milligrams, potatoes 40, barley 98, sesame seeds 443 milligrams, sunflower seeds 349 milligrams, and oranges 17 milligrams per 100 gram. Health Canada allows food companies to add up to 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram of plant sterols per serving. Guadalupe Garcia Latas and Maria Teresa Rodriguez Estrada, in a recent paper on food fortification, say this: over the past 15 years, plant sterol-enriched foods have faced a great increase in the market due to the asserted cholesterol-lowering effect of plant sterols. However, owing to their chemical structures, plant sterols can oxidize and produce a wide variety of oxidation products with controversial biological effects. In other words, the fortification of food with plant sterols, as in yogurt, can cause free radical oxidation to occur. Many of our doctors using Sterol 117 with their patients have witnessed dramatic drops in cholesterol levels. Just as an example of effective dosage, in one case, a 65-year-old female experienced a drop in cholesterol levels from 6.7 to 6.3 in 1 month by taking only 2 capsules of Sterol 117 daily after a loading dose of just 4 capsules for 7 days. With Health Canada statements based on research that demonstrates dose-dependent efficacy, it makes sense to use the formula with the most compliant dose. Comparatively, other formulas cannot hope to achieve the Health Canada recommended dosage of 2 grams or 2,000 milligrams with only 20 milligrams of plant sterols in a capsule. Also, these comparative brands may contain varying forms of sterols and stanols, or sterol esters, including the neurotoxic glucosides, which are frequently referred to as sterolins. Sterol esters are formed when sterols come into contact with acids, and the cholesterol-lowering effect of a product that contains esters is attenuated or reduced or weakened, and the sterol supplement becomes ineffective after 1 to 2 months. Some manufacturers include compounds that may sound impressive, but are those that science has shown to be ineffective or toxic. Glucosides, or sterolins, sterol esters, and stanols are not included in the Sterol 117 formula for that reason. As for the additional ingredients in every Sterol 117 capsule, ingredients that increase the plant absorption and are necessary for the cellular metabolism of the sterols, Celt Naturals uses 2 proprietary blends, enzogenol and salicate. Enzogenol is a water-soluble extract of proanthocyanidins, flavonoids, and natural organic acids extracted from the bark of the New Zealand-grown Pinus radiata trees, using a patented pure water extraction method developed by the University of New Zealand, ensuring no solvent residues. This water extraction method also ensures that significant groups of antioxidants are harvested and not lost as in conventional solvent-based extraction methods. The body's ability to absorb a greater amount of phytonutrients is increased when using aqueous extracts containing small molecule organic acids and compounds. These are not typically found in products using extracts derived from the use of solvents. Enzogenol is a broad-spectrum antioxidant that contains over 90% of all known polyphenols. It has greater antioxidant scavenging activity when measured by the peroxyl radical scavenging assay, and also when measured by the nitro-blue tetrazolium superoxide inhibitory assay. It is extracted from the pith of the pine tree and not the commonly used wood pulp effluent, also known as tall oil pitch, which when used forms an ester. Recent studies provide evidence that increased consumption of polyphenols can reduce the risk of prostate, breast, lung, and digestive cancers. Enzogenol can stimulate phagocytosis, an immune response in which cells ingest and eliminate harmful microorganisms and foreign heavy metals. It also has a powerful cleansing action that is known to be beneficial to the liver, which is significant since the liver is the most important organ in the body for assimilation and distribution of antioxidants, as well as cleansers to the cells. In addition, the small molecules found in the specific extract are effective against nitrosamines found in preserved meats, as well as the free radicals activated by tobacco smoke. Salicylate is a blend of fruit oils, seed extracts, and essential fatty acids that increase the cellular uptake of the nutrients contained in Sterol 117. When any company extracts plant sterol compounds for use in a supplement, they no longer contain any protection from stomach acids, and so are mostly destroyed before they can be absorbed. Sterol 117 capsules are enteric-coated to protect the fragile plant sterols from breaking down from stomach acids. This allows the ingredients to be delivered to the small intestine, where the plant sterols or phytonutrients can be absorbed. It is important to note that because most companies use esters in manufacturing a sterol supplement, it doesn't really matter when they are taken. As mentioned earlier, sterol needs to be taken 30 minutes before a meal and 10 minutes before a fatty acid meal to block the absorption of dietary cholesterol. The fat within the meal will compete with the plant sterol fat and will be wasted. So, what are phytonutrients or phytochemicals? The term phytochemicals or plant chemicals, also known as phytonutrients, was first introduced in an April 25, 1994 issue of Newsweek magazine. These compounds have become part of the newest research addressing the West's most chronic diseases. Only plants can synthesize phytonutrients, and humans and animals have to obtain them from their diet. So, like vitamin C, plant sterols are essential to our body and are not manufactured by the body. More than 5,000 individual dietary phytochemicals have been identified, but a large percentage of them are still unknown. In addition, recent research suggests that the benefits of bioactive compounds in fruits, vegetables, and other plant foods may be even greater than is currently understood, because in vitro studies and animal studies suggest that they have multiple mechanisms of action beyond antioxidant activity. The most important groups of dietary phytochemicals, or phytonutrients, can be divided into general categories, such as phenolics, alkaloids, nitrogen-containing compounds, organosulfur compounds, carotenoids, and phytosterols. Here are some examples of commonly known phytochemicals, using just some of the more recognizable of compounds. You may have heard of or even used some of the following: resveratrol, which is a natural compound found in red grape skin, Japanese knotweed, peanuts, blueberries, and some other berries. Resveratrol is known for its antioxidant properties, and as a phytochemical, it is called a phenolic. Gallic acid is another phenolic compound. And you may have heard of flavonoids like quercetin, used to downregulate mast cell production in the immune system, and stabilizing the cells that release histamine. It is effective in asthma and allergies, and it's a well-known mitochondrial regenerator. And anthocyanidins, or lignans, as well as coumarins from turmeric with their anti-inflammatory properties, and isoflavonoids like genistein from soy, used to regulate hormonal balance. An example of an alkaloid is caffeine. And examples of organosulfur compounds are indoles, used to assist in estrogen metabolism, and sulforaphane from broccoli seed, also another proponent of mitochondrial regeneration. Examples of carotenoids are carotene, lutein, and lycopene, all of which are now commonly available through supplementation. One of the most amazing phytochemical discoveries in the area of natural medicine is the phytosterol category. Plant sterols are an important part of the world of phytochemicals, as well as the secondary biosynthesis of higher plants. The therapeutic benefit of phytosterols was first discovered by a settler in South Africa. The hypoxy plant, very high in beta-cytosterol, had been traditionally used by the Zulu tribesmen for generations. Phytosterols are commonly referred to as plant fats, but are more accurately described in molecular terms as steroidal alcohols. Sterols occur naturally in the cells and membranes of most plants, seeds, grains, nuts, fruits, and legumes. The most familiar type of animal sterol is cholesterol. Cholesterol is vital to cellular function and a precursor to fat-soluble vitamins and steroid hormones. The molecular structure of plant phytochemicals, and particularly beta-cytosterol, is similar to that of cholesterol, vitamin D, and testosterone. In their natural state, these phytochemicals are often bound to the fibers of plants, making them difficult to absorb during digestion, especially in the case of the elderly and those with digestive disorders. There are a number of sterols in the phytosterol family. Phytosterols and sterols are generic terms for the group of sterols that includes camphosterol, stigmasterol, cytostanol, brassicosterol, campostanol, stigmastanol, and beta-cytosterol. Of all of these, beta-cytosterol is the most active and the most impacting to our health. Beta-cytosterol, although commonly referred to as a sterol, is more accurately a steroidal alcohol, and when mixed with an acid will form an ester. It is the most active and abundant phytochemical. Beta-cytosterol is an isolate and derived from numerous non-flowering plant sources. It is contained within plant fibers, it is absorbed via the small intestine, and for assured absorption it should be taken in an enteric-coated capsule, such as in Sterol 117. The main commercial sources of beta-cytosterol are soy, sugarcane, and canola. Some manufacturers derive plant sterols from pristine forests, for example, which is a reference to their raw material source. In actuality, it is the effluent from pulp mills, not really a source anyone should choose. Research studies show that beta-cytosterol reduces the excessive release of cortisol and increases DHEA levels, thus increasing an adaptive stress response. It protects against excessive inflammation for physically stressed athletes, and protects the immune system against the stress response by stimulating the activity and proliferation of CD4 T cells and NK cells to combat infection. Beta-cytosterol can decrease the absorption of cholesterol produced by the liver as a stress response. And according to the following paper, beta-cytosterol activates fast signaling in human breast cancer cells, prepared by Awada, Chinema, Finca, and Bradford from the Department of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences and the Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology at the State University of New York at Buffalo. Research has shown that beta-cytosterol can not only inhibit the growth of cancer cells, but also increases the rate at which cancer cells die. Beta-cytosterol inhibits the growth of several types of tumor cells in vitro and decreases the size and the extent of tumor metastasis in vivo. These findings support the hypothesis that beta-cytosterol is an effective apoptosis-promoting agent, and that incorporation of more phytosterols in the diet may serve as a preventative measure for breast cancer. Let's take a quick look at the various forms that might appear in a sterol supplement. You may hear the terms esters and stanols associated with plant sterols. Sterol esters are products of sterols and organic acids, where the organic radical replaces the hydroxyl group. Dissolving plant sterols in fish oil would produce esters, which are different from the original sterols. Doing so would be introducing esters into the body as opposed to free plant sterols. So spiking a fish oil supplement with stigmasterol, for example, causes the fish oil to combine with steroidal alcohols to form associated esters, which are molecularly different from the original steroidal alcohol. In this case, you are no longer administering stigmasterol, but the stigma esters of the above acids, since fish oil contains many EPA and DHA acids. In a recent study, the cholesterol-lowering effect of sterol esters had a weakened effect and was attenuated or was effective for only 1 to 2 months. Camposterol, in a supplement form, will actually block the absorption of sterol. Stanols are formed from the hydrogenation of sterols. These are sterols that are fully saturated. They are very effective at blocking absorption of cholesterol, but they also block absorption of all sterols, including beta-cytosterol, the most effective of the sterol compounds. Consequently, stanols may support the cardiovascular system, but may compromise the immune system, since beta-cytosterol is important for immune function. So the addition of a stanol in a supplement actually compromises immune function. Sterolins are glucosides in plant membranes. There is no research to support their role in a therapeutic application. Recent research at the Department of Experimental Medicine at the University of British Columbia has shown that exposure to dietary sterol glucosides is neurotoxic to motor neurons and induces an ALS phenotype. Mice that were fed beta-cytosterol glucoside-treated pellets for 15 weeks exhibited progressive loss of motor neurons in the lumbar spinal cord that continued to worsen even after the beta-cytosterol glucoside exposure ended. In Appendix E of the Neuromolecular Medical Journal dated 2008, a study showed a positive correlation between consumption of sterolins and neurotoxic disease. Sterol 117 does not contain sterolins. It is important to note that no studies on sterolins claim that sterolins are part of the family of plant sterols, yet they are listed on some supplement labels. Sometimes plant sterols are combined with CoQ10. If the capsule used is a soft gel capsule, which is used in the manufacturing of oils, this tells us that the plant sterol has now become a sterol ester. Simply put, if manufacturers mix plant sterols with oil, an ester is formed. This supplement can be effective, but only for a 1 to 2 month period depending on each individual. So it may be effective, but only for a short time. So why begin a supplement regimen that includes Sterol 117, or why increase your intake of fresh fruit, vegetables, and legumes? Let's get a better understanding of the need for increasing our dietary intake of phytonutrients and the preventative and remedial benefits of including Sterol 117 as a sterol supplement. Throughout the evolution of our species, we have consumed significant amounts of plant-derived food, either exclusively or as an adjunct to a meat and fish diet, depending on the epoch, our relative geography, and the climate. Our diet at various times has been rich in fiber, protein, and naturally occurring groups of phytochemicals and compounds, such as plant sterols from fruit, legumes, and vegetation, all of which have inarguably contributed to the survival of our species, and helped to create an optimal human system consisting of the neural, endocrine, lymphatic, alimentary, cardiovascular, and immune systems. It is impossible, particularly within a holistic medical viewpoint, to isolate any one system as more significant to survival. However, without a highly functional immune system, a species would disappear through germ warfare. Considering the importance of the immune system's ability to develop and adapt, the success of a species relies heavily on the endogenous and exogenous interplay of its immune system. It is apparent that all the life-enhancing and immune-modulating properties that we now consider when recommending vitamins, minerals, herbs, and supplements to our patients, and more specifically for our discussion of plant sterol supplement, were properties that were applicable to our paleo ancestors and helped them to survive. Fast forward to a modern time where the necessity of feeding the masses justified the development of a petrochemical industry of fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, contributing to soil nutrient and beneficial microorganism depletion. Apparently, modern farming methods have depleted the essential nutrients we require in our food from the soil by as much as 90%. Consider the current climate as well of multinational corporations and the government-regulated culture of unscientific science, bent on creating food unfit for human consumption, chemically derived and adulterated, altered so that its own nature is unrecognizable. It is literally breathtaking and an unfortunate mouthful. This is most definitely a serious time in the history of planetary food, not only for the increasing issues of global supply affected by climate change, but for the quality and density of its nutrients. It is no secret that in the wealthiest countries exist the most dramatic health issues. Groups such as the Breast Cancer Fund effectively work to draw a straight line between the absurd level of food, product, and environmental toxicity and cancer in North America, and the Environmental Working Group, or EWG, classifies the potential toxic levels and dangers of particular products, especially in cosmetics. Medications abound as short-term crisis solutions, and lifestyle changes, although lifestyle changes could be one of the primary keys, are poorly appreciated. The Government of Canada states that 1.4 million Canadians have heart disease, and that 9 in 10 Canadians over the age of 20 have at least one risk factor for heart disease, and 4 in 10 have 3 or more risk factors. And the Canadian Cancer Society estimates that prostate cancer accounts for 24% of all newly diagnosed cancer cases in men annually. That means 24,000 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2015, with the annual average set to double by 2030. These are statistics that certainly correlate with our poor lifestyle choices. But statistics also could be changed by understanding the importance of a few key dietary shifts that involve plant sterol compounds. The mineral and vitamin content of foods in industrialized nations today has declined dramatically. Studies by nutritional scientists in the United States have shown that up to 91% of us do not get the recommended daily allowance, or RDA, of nutrients and minerals. Among the primary reasons for this nutrient deficiency is the overuse of commercial fertilizers, overprocessing of food, preserving and packaging of foods for a longer shelf life. In addition, food preparation today, whether in the storage process, freezing, or excessive heating, negatively impacts its nutritional value, as we all know. And generally, North American diets do not include enough fresh fruits and vegetables to provide an adequate amount of plant sterol compounds that would naturally enhance and maintain the immune system as well as the metabolic functions of our bodies. So we all know this, but do we really know the impact these depletions have had and will continue to have on human health? The North American food industry lobbies government, and departments do exist to protect its citizens with food safety regulations and quality controls. However, it is arguable whether or not the approving bodies that allow food manufacturers to enhance a product with added nutrients and nutrient compounds, as well as chemical preservatives, additives, and artificial colorings, really understand the mechanism of nutrient absorption of the human body, let alone preventative health. And the science of Frankenfood has not truly proven its safety for human use over time. Within some scientific circles, there is a tangible concern that this now pandemic of chemical adulteration is affecting not only human health and the nutrient content of plant life, but the growth cycles and various levels of biosynthesis in the plant life as well. Our ever-increasing toxic soup may have affected the phytochemical and consequently the phytosterol content of fruits and vegetables, an issue that has not as yet been introduced into the general discussion. The question for us living in the 21st century is not simply about the value or quality or density of nutrients remaining once a seed or a food has been affected by our new science, or once a plant has been tainted by the residue of herbicide and pesticide. We must additionally consider the possibility that the secondary metabolic compound processes inherent to the plant world have been altered or damaged. With the prevailing culture of genetically modified seeds, this concern should be at the forefront of all decision-making. Have the basic components of biosynthesis in plant life been affected? And consequently, and there will be a consequence or two, has human health been compromised as a result? Will those become the questions that regulating bodies and science, for that matter, begin to consider in regulation and food safety processes in the future? I'm quoting John Lydon and Stephen O. Duke of Southern Weed Science Laboratory in Stoneville, Mississippi, from the abstract on their paper, Pesticide Effects on Secondary Metabolism of Higher Plants, which was written in June 1988. And they say this: Documentation of the effects of pesticides on secondary compound biosynthesis in higher plants is increasing. While several herbicides have been reported to reduce levels of secondary compounds by nonspecific mechanisms, a few herbicides, such as Alacor and glyphosate, directly affect specific biosynthesis steps. Alacor reduces flavonoid synthesis at a step late in the biosynthesis pathway, and glyphosate blocks synthesis of all cinnamate derivatives. These and other data suggest that sublethal effects of pesticides on target and non-target plants can significantly affect agricultural ecosystems by altering the synthesis of compounds important in inter- and intra-species interactions. It's important to note that the production of plant sterols in higher plants is part of the secondary biosynthesis of compound steps. According to Lyle McWilliams, Master of Science for McWilliam Communications in Vernon, BC, from a paper dated November 2009, he says, "It is true that nitrate, phosphate, and potassium, also known as NPK fertilizers, first introduced in the early 1900s, significantly increase crop yield, but they do so at great expense. Overuse of these chemical fertilizers has been found to accelerate the depletion of these vital micronutrients and trace elements and reduce their bioavailability to plants. NPK fertilizers will gradually reduce soil pH, rendering the soils too acidic to support beneficial bacteria and fungi. These symbiotic organisms assist the plant in absorbing nutrients from the soil. Once gone, uptake of micronutrients by plants is significantly impaired. The weakening of both our soils and crops through the indiscriminate practices of commercial agriculture creates an overwhelming dependence on the use of pesticides and herbicides in order to maintain crop yield. These extremely toxic organochlorine and organophosphorus derivatives kill our soils by slaughtering the symbiotic bacteria and fungi that promote nutrient uptake in plants. They also inactivate critical enzyme systems within the plant roots that are involved in mineral absorption, and they destroy the soil microorganisms needed to create the organic mineral complexes that naturally replenish the soil. This information appeared in the paper Nutrient Depletion of Our Foods, submitted to Mr. Kevin Guest, the Chief Marketing Officer for USANA Health Sciences, and was submitted by Lyle McWilliam from McWilliams Communication on November the 9th, 2009. But even more disheartening is the information from the USDA. The United States Department of Agriculture harvested and tested higher plants after spraying them with fungicides and herbicides. They demonstrated that the plant shuts down its plant sterol production. Plant sterols are part of the natural defense mechanism of plants against naturally occurring fungus and insects, and this mechanism is part of that secondary biosynthesis of the higher plant world. Plant sterols make the plant naturally bitter, and this makes the plant less likely to attract insects. So the function of sterol production in a plant is varied. The congregations of the Seventh-day Adventist Church are vegetarian, but do not necessarily consume primarily organic vegetables and fruits. And when they were tested, their blood level of plant sterols was extremely low, 25 to 40 milligrams instead of the estimated 300 milligrams that should be present on such a vegetarian diet. We have established through extensive research at this point that plant sterols positively impact the immune system. What if the innate immune modulating benefits and cholesterol lowering properties of plant sterols, just to name a few attributes, have been adversely diminished by the now global presence of chemicals and modifications to our food supply? What if there is a relationship to a diminished presence of nature's phytochemicals and immune system dysfunction? And is there an effort on the part of the proponents of genetically modified foods or chemical agriculture to demonstrate that there is no alteration to nutrient quality or phytosterol presence? Adding more vitamins and phytosterol compounds to our food supply may help, but what if this is too little, too late? Health ministries may actually identify with these hypotheses in a way by adding nutrients, in particular to packaged food. And although commendable, this attempt to handle the diminished nutrient value of our food supply by adding synthetic nutrients may not compensate sufficiently for the decimation of its nature. Adding select vitamins, minerals, and fiber to cereals and breads has been widely accepted since 1920. More recently, in May of 2010, as a response to the condition of chronic hypercholesteremia in North America, Health Canada's Food Directorate expanded the selection and approved the addition of plant sterols or phytosterols to a limited range of foods, such as spreads, mayonnaise, margarine, calorie-reduced margarine, salad dressing, yogurt and yogurt drinks, and vegetable and fruit drinks. So that's a good thing in a sense, since refined food processing to increase appeal to the eye and the palate removes fibers and plant sterols from food as well as nutrition. But is the form of plant sterol compromised inside of these foods, rendering it nearly useless? Considering the chemistry of plant sterols within acid-base or fat-based foods, there is some concern. So we may not be receiving the intended benefit of this effort. Considering the number of supplement manufacturers now incorporating plant sterols or a sterol derivative into their formulations, it is apparent that recent research into the importance of plant sterols for human immune system and overall cardiovascular health has been noted. And we have demonstrated an absolute need for supplementation and increases of plant sterols in our daily food regimens. Even so, plant sterols as a supplement with such versatile and broad spectrum application is still the most under-recognized and underutilized nutrient in natural medicine. And we may still not be consuming enough plant and legume-derived compounds. So what are the benefits of eating and supplementing with plant sterols? How do they work, and for which indications? As mentioned, in their natural state, sterols are bound to the fibers of plants and for this reason are difficult to absorb during digestion. However, plant sterols, even in their natural state, inhibit the absorption of intestinal cholesterol, including recirculating endogenous biliary cholesterol. Intestinal absorption is a key step in the reduction of cholesterol levels. Studies have shown that plant sterols mimic cholesterol in the small intestine and partly block cholesterol absorption, so regular consumption of a variety of vegetables, grains, fruits, and legumes, or supplementation containing plant sterols may lower LDL cholesterol levels and enhance HDL cholesterol. Chemically, they are similar to animal fat cholesterol, but they are very different in their biological function. Dr. David Krzyzewski, professor of nutrition at the Wistar Institute in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, says, inasmuch as cytosterol has only 2 extra carbon electrons on its side chain, making it an analog of cholesterol, it fools the human gastrointestinal system and inhibits the absorption of cholesterol. Cytosterol takes cholesterol's place molecularly in the micelles, and then they do not cross the gut's mucosal barrier to the bloodstream. Basically, the phytosterol blocks any absorption in the gut. Numerous studies using the product Sterol 117 show the inhibition of dietary cholesterol with a reduction of LDL by 15% and an increase in HDL by 9%. Health Canada considers that approximately 50% of our population is at moderate to high hypercholesteremia levels, since these biomarkers, LDL, cholesterol, and total cholesterol, are the risk factors for heart disease. Health Canada also recognizes that research-backed benefits of phytosterols have substantiated the health claims, and that, as mentioned earlier, an overall 8.8% reduction in LDL cholesterol has been observed with an average intake of 2 grams of plant sterols daily. Most food manufacturers will include plant sterols as a supplement in relatively minute amounts, and so achieving this 2-gram intake is difficult. Many supplement manufacturers use a plant sterol as an adjunct to other ingredients, so that it is not the primary compound, and the content is additionally too low to make a daily dosage of 2 grams manageable. With such low amounts, a supplement needs to be taken for 2 to 3 months before any results can be appreciated. Each capsule of Sterol 117 contains 300 milligrams of plant sterols, and so supplementing a daily diet of fresh fruits and vegetables with additional plant sterol capsules is possible using just 2 to 4 capsules. For cholesterol reduction, 2 to 4 capsules daily is highly effective. Feedback from clinicians demonstrates that Sterol 117, with its 300 milligrams of overall plant sterols and 117 milligrams of beta-cytosterol, garners results in as little as 2 to 3 hours when relieving allergies or upper respiratory symptoms. Consumption of phytosterols 15 minutes prior to a meal helps to block the intestinal absorption of cholesterol, reducing LDL and increasing HDL levels. The advantage of sterols over statin drugs is that while statins block cholesterol production from the liver, at the same time inhibiting the production of CoQ10, plant sterols inhibit absorption of dietary cholesterol and leave the liver to control the body's cholesterol levels naturally. Urologists in Germany have been using phytosterols for over 25 years to improve urinary flow, to reduce urinary retention, and to treat enlarged prostates. In a 1997 UK study published in the British Journal of Urology, of the over 100 participants, 90% of them showed an average improvement in their IPS scores of 44% over a 12-week period. Plant sterols, especially combined with the correct antioxidants, as in the enzogenol blend, have been shown to alleviate many of the symptoms of fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndromes. Regulation of the production of interleukin-6 can reduce the chronic inflammatory pain associated with fibromyalgia. Enzogenol also reduces the free radical levels that can contribute to the development of fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. Phytosterols can modulate both an underproducing and an overperforming immune system response, and consequently alleviate symptoms of stiffness, pain, and inflammation. This balancing effect may enhance the ability of the T lymphocytes to release the factors that ultimately regulate cellular functions in the body. Research by Bagas and Tamer at the Mersin Medical School in Turkey in 2003 has indicated a link between fibromyalgia syndrome and oxidative stress. Research at the University of Perugia in Italy indicated oxidative damage to DNA and lipids in muscle specimens of chronic fatigue syndrome patients. Research at the University of Canterbury showed DNA damage reduction when diets were supplemented with enzogenol and vitamin C over a 12-week period. With regards to the immune system function, exciting research is now showing that beta-cytosterol can inhibit the production of interleukin-6, a pro-inflammatory cytokine produced by oxidative stress. Epidemiological studies by the National Institute on Aging have linked elevated levels of interleukin-6 with increased risk of death from cardiovascular disease. Interleukin-6 has been linked with disease progression in an aging population in a number of diseases: rheumatoid arthritis, multiple myeloma, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's, and cardiovascular disease. Sterols can minimize the production of pro-inflammatory cytokine interleukin-6 and stimulate the production of the anti-inflammatory cytokine interleukin-10, which inhibits inflammation as well as atherosclerotic lesions. Interleukin-10 additionally may alleviate some of the contributing factors of IBS, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, and psoriasis. Studies have shown that plant sterols modulate immune system function by normalizing the function of T cell production, the cells which control the immune system's response to infection and cancer, possibly via the adrenal or thyroid function. According to Dr. David Krzyzewski, a variety of plant-derived factors have been discovered which, once incorporated in the serum of both animals and humans, participate in the regulation of several physiological thymus-effective processes. These essential vegetal factors were identified as sterols and their glucosides. It appears that the administration of virgin sterols enhances the endogenous synthesis of thymic factors and of purified glycoproteinic substances, such as thymosin and pineal tissue. In seasonal allergies and using Sterol 117, a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled pilot study showed a reduction of interleukin-6 by 35% and basophil production by 25%. Recent evidence suggests that basophils are a major source of the cytokine interleukin-4. Basophils are responsible for the development of IgE-mediated response in chronic allergic inflammation independent of T cells and mast cells through the induction of interleukin-4. A randomized double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial that was conducted on the effects of Sterol 117 was completed at the University of Guelph, Ontario, Canada in March of 2005. The pilot study was conducted at the Human Nutraceutical Research Unit and was designed to investigate the effect of supplementation with Sterol 117 on immunological response to allergens. The participants in the treatment group, when compared to the control group, showed a statistically significant reduction in basophil count, a 96% decrease over a 28-day period. These leukocytes are responsible for histamine release. The recommended dose during the trial was a loading dose of 1 capsule in the morning and 1 capsule in the evening for 7 consecutive days. Participants were then advised by the research team to reduce the dosage to 1 capsule per day for the duration of the study. Sterol 117 has demonstrated that it has an effect on histamine release from human basophils and also on interleukin-6 levels, and consequently can substantially alleviate symptoms associated with airborne allergens. And patient compliance using Sterol 117 is excellent, since the dosages for efficacy are manageable. So to summarize, phytosterols inhibit the release of interleukin-4, so histamine production is reduced and allergy symptoms are controlled, and interleukin-6 is normalized so lung tissue can be protected from further dysfunction. A randomized double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial through the University of Guelph Human Nutraceutical Research Unit using Sterol 117 showed a significant reduction in basophil count with a loading dose of 1 capsule in the morning and 1 capsule in the evening for 7 consecutive days, reducing to 1 capsule daily for the remainder of the study. The research also showed a substantial reduction in the pro-inflammatory interleukin-6 levels in the treatment group when compared to the control group, and an increase in anti-inflammatory interleukin-10. Plant sterols have been shown to help balance and modulate the immune response by enhancing T helper 1 cell proliferation at an average of 58%, and therefore increasing the regulation of T helper cell 2 cells to ultimately decrease allergies, inflammation, and many types of autoimmune diseases, including, as mentioned, rheumatoid arthritis, IBS, psoriasis, eczema, and MS. An underactive T helper 1 cell immune personality is prone to viral infections and cancers, and an overactive T helper 2 cell immune personality is prone to allergies, effects of toxicity, inflammation, autoimmune disease, RA, and psoriasis and eczema. Sterols are best known for their overall immune modulating properties. Now, with all of this in mind, let's consider the effects of overuse of antibiotics on the human immune system. Alexander Fleming discovered the antibiotic medication benzopenicillin in 1928, and he warned then that overuse and misuse of antibiotics would create drug resistance as well as bacterial regeneration. More recently, British Prime Minister David Cameron has stated that we risk going back to the dark ages of medicine unless we deal with widespread antimicrobial drug resistance. Resistance will kill more people than global warming or terrorism. In India and China, 1 child under the age of 5 dies every minute because of antibiotic resistance. Bacteria mutate constantly. In fact, a new generation of bacteria occurs every 20 minutes, and they slyly pass resistance sideways to other types of bacteria, so keeping up with the new strains is improbable. No new classes of antibiotics have been developed since 1987, although a few scientific groups are working at developing new strains. We experience 10 million extra deaths annually related to antibiotic resistance, and it is estimated that the accumulative healthcare costs of resistance will rise to 100 trillion by 2050. This applies not only to antibacterials, but to antimicrobials as well. Microbials include fungus, virus, and tuberculosis. For example, 70% of HIV viruses are now resistant to frontline medications. Dame Sally Davies from the UK says that 7% of all deaths are related to infections now, but 1/2 of all deaths will be related to infections worldwide in the near future, which explains David Cameron's reference to a return to the dark ages of medicine. Antibiotic use is widespread in medicine. Cancer chemotherapy damages the immune system in the short term and increases susceptibility to infection, and so antibiotics are used from the outset. Any surgery relies on the use of antibiotics to prevent infection. Misuse includes misdiagnosis, such as using antibiotics for a virus, as well as purchasing these drugs over the internet without medical supervision. Antibiotics are used indiscriminately in animal feed for cattle, poultry, swine, and fish farming. Of course, the use of antibiotics increases growth in animals, and so they are incorporated whether needed or not. It would be easier and more effective overall in agriculture to simply return to an expectation of perfect hygiene. The use of good infection control has nothing to do with the use of antibiotics. The European Union and Scandinavia banned the use of antibiotics in feed in 2006 with no adverse issues or increased risk of infection. And many European countries have increased old-fashioned sanitation and hygiene for animals and farm personnel with great benefit. For humans, when washing hands, singing the happy birthday song 3 times using hand soap will kill bacteria, but statistics show that less than 50% of males wash their hands after relieving themselves, just as an example. This is a hot topic for our discussion because it begs us to consider our reliance on the use of antibiotics and the implications to the immune system with long-term use. In conclusion, we need to take back the management of our health. We need to take responsibility for our health. And managing the health of our immune systems is the proactive approach needed. Plant sterols are believed to be the only natural, non-toxic substance scientifically proven to safely activate and rebuild the body's T cells and NF killer cells, the powerhouse immune defense system. Increasing our daily intake of vegetables, nuts, seeds, and legumes to 6 to 8 and even 10 servings daily, and 2 to 3 servings of fresh fruit daily, will increase our dietary intake of beneficial plant sterols. And a maintenance dose of 2 capsules daily of Sterol 117 will provide all the therapeutic benefits of plant sterol compounds to address all the benefits that we've discussed and to interrupt the progression of inflammation and chronic debilitating disease. Call us for your copy of the book Immunity Unlocked by Jack Davidson and Alan Ferguson, and much health to you. All the statements in this presentation are representative of the speaker and not necessarily of Celt Naturals Corporation.